and welcome to the Finny Games. It's your host, BBG, aka BrokeBlackGamer. What's good, my BGs? Today I wanted to talk about the reveal of the amazing and astonishing 5080 Ti/Super. I might sound like a hypocrite in this video, but that's okay because I am admittedly an 80 Ti/80 Super class fanboy. Now, before I get into the details of this specification leak / accidental leak from Zotac about their 5080 Ti/Super, this card spikes my interest because I originally wanted to buy this 4080 Super because the 4080 Super I believed would be a card like the 1080 Ti, the 2080 Ti, or even the 3080 Ti, where they had relative performance to their Halo product counterpart, such as the Titan X with the 1080 Ti, the RTX Titan with the 2080 Ti, and the 3090 with the 3080 Ti. However, when the 4080 Super came out, it was actually just a clone or a 4080 in disguise as a 4080 Super. It actually did not have the relative performance to the Halo product predecessor for a cheaper value. It was just essentially a 4080. And to me, this rubbed me the wrong way, and it made me lose a lot of trust with NVIDIA. And another thing is, when this card released, it already struggled with games like Cyberpunk. For example, I've just finished playing and recording some gameplay of Cyberpunk with the Transformer model on 1440p quality. I don't want to play anything less than quality with 1440p, and I was struggling to keep a steady 50 frames per second with the 480 Super with a 9700X and a 4080 Super graphics card, obviously. It was literally a stuttering mess, and I could not enjoy any of it. It reminds me of this interaction.
Do her!
What it look like? I came to bring you your son.
What you talking about? I ain't got no kids.
Yeah, you do, and he's right here. He looks just like you. Y'all have the same eyes, the same ears, and he even doesn't wear any shoes. Just like you.
That don't mean nothing. The daddy might be African.
African? Lil Stutter, say something.
You show?
Yeah.
Hey, daddy.
This some bullshit.
And I had to use frame generation so I could get about 110 frames per second, but the latency kills me, especially because I game really fast and I have high DPI settings on my mouse, and it just feels like a nightmare. And I always lose motivation when I have to turn the setting down and play something that looks very ugly to my spoiled eyes. I like to consider myself, and normally consider myself, an RT PT Ultra Enthusiast gamer, where I like to max everything out for at least a couple of years. And I like to play and keep my PC for at least 4 to 5 years, sometimes even 6, and I at least expect to be able to max out those settings for at least 2 years, at least. Like, come on now. And so when I purchased my 1080 Ti, I never had this issue, especially with old games. When I had my 2080 Ti, I never had this issue, especially with old games. I actually was still using my 1080 Ti up until September of last year when I got this. And this card, to me, has been slightly just a little bit disappointing because the limited amount of VRAM. I am big into RT mods, which means you need a lot of VRAM. I'm really big into these texture packs and texture pack mods, and they usually require about 20 gigabytes of VRAM. Another thing is future proofing. I want a future proof card. If this is struggling with 1440p and DLSS, you can chalk that down to game optimization or not, but if these games are optimized so poorly, then I would rather take the bigger and greater amounts of VRAM. So with that being said, Zotac accidentally released a 5080 Ti/Super specifications, kind of specifications, but more of just they announced it, that it was real, back on April 7th. I'm obviously late to this news, but it piques my interest as this is my fanboy tier. This is my area. So The card is supposed to have a 384-bit memory bus. It's also supposed to have 24 gigabytes of VRAM. And not only that, it would also, of course, feature the G7 memory, which means this would be essentially a 4090 with G7 memory, more AI tops, and more CUDA. And that is big because DLSS 4 or all these AI features like MFG, they run better with the more AI tops that you have. And that would mean for me that I would get the GPU that I originally wanted anyways. And the 5000 series also is extremely exceptional at overclocking, unlike the 4000 series. So if the base 5080 is able to get close levels of performance to the 4090 while overclocked, imagine what the 5080 Ti/Super would be able to do compared to the 4090. And I was looking for a 4090, but this would be a newer and sweeter deal and bet. But I do not know how much this card will cost, and there's been a litany of problems with the 5000 series GPUs that make me not trust them. We all know what they are, and they haven't been looking good for any of us. I hope that these GPUs are they're able to fix a lot of these issues that we've seen. Again, like, I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but I pray that it comes out somewhat normal and it's not missing ROPs, it's not overheating, there's no issues with thermal paste. I hope not, but I'm not a fortune teller. And again, the 5080, a lot of people are telling me to get the 5080 GPU, but again, going into the future, if games are already taking the type of games I want to play and the type of mods I want to use, already using 16 gigabytes of VRAM, that card would not get me 4, 5, 6 years into the future where I would like to be. 24 gigabytes of VRAM is sufficient for me in what I would like. I also don't think that an 80 class card should be sharing the same amount of VRAM as a 4060 16 gigabyte model. And that for me is another slap in the face, especially since the 5080 it only has half the amount of VRAM that the 5090 has. A lot of people say you don't need that much VRAM. I know I don't need 32, but I do need 24. Based on the fact that my GPU is struggling with its skimped amount of VRAM, this card was disappointing to me. I know I said that I was grateful for it, and I have been, but at the end of the day, it's not what I want. Like, I don't like being on the edge of my seat, like knowing that there's games coming out that I can't play with the settings that I want, even with DLSS 1440p quality. Anything to me that isn't 1440p quality DLSS 4 looks terrible to me because I'm spoiled from something better. And that's just the unfortunate reality when you start playing in 4K. Like, it's hard, it really is hard to go back. I tried, I wasn't a fan of it. But the only issue is like, do I really think that this card will come with no issues, and will it really be priced at $1,500 since we're already seeing the 5080 prices high? No, like, so there's going to be a lot of issues there, and it might be impossible to get. Looks like we've been seeing restock with the 5000 series GPUs, but the tariffs may potentially get worse. The prices may potentially get worse. It's hard to say, but if this card comes out, this would be the card that I would like to attempt to get. And lastly, this might mean that we get some other refreshes too, like maybe a 5070 Ti Super. So maybe some people would want to hold out if you're planning on getting a 5080, or you're going to go back and get a 4090 or even a 40 Super or some card of 5070 Ti of card of that tier, because that would hopefully mean that they would lower the prices of some of the other cards. But again, this 4080 Super, it's been okay for high-end path tracing 1440p gaming, but again, I don't want to be on a 1440p monitor. I would like to do something higher, and I also would like a little bit more VRAM for my content creation. And again, like, this card was struggling to keep a solid 50 frames per second with higher demanding games, and to me that nah, like, this GPU has been out for a little over a year, and it's supposed to be an 80 class card, and it's already struggling with modern games. Like, that's not for me. So, like, hopefully I'll be able to do this. If the prices are ridiculous, it's just not going to happen. I've gotten used to it. But again, like, I know, like, a lot of, like, this isn't really necessary for most people, but for me it's pretty necessary. But with that being said, the 5080 Ti / 5080 Super, looks like it will resurrect the 80 class card name, and we'll finally get a true, good, decent 80 class card like a lot of us suspected it to come out. I originally said I would like to wait for this card. I was getting skeptical, like I assumed like it might just be a 5080 disguised as a 5080 Super, but if it's true that it has 24 gigabytes of VRAM, a 384-bit memory bus, 3 gigabyte modules, G7 memory, all this stuff would be expected, then it's a no-brainer. This is a card that I've been waiting for, and that might even mean that the base 680, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that might even mean that the base 680 that would usually come out a year later might have 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and so I might even want to wait for that. But anyway, the Finny games are over for today. Thank you for watching.